Did you have trouble getting pregnant?
Yes, we had a miscarriage. I was so sick. I was losing so much weight. I just became to a point where I had minimal energy, even to the point where asking my husband, can you please just help me dress today? Like just laying in bed.
They're telling you this is the rest of your life.
You're going to have to take injections for now, probably more later.
It's in your body. And you just got that because it runs in your family.
God is a healer. I prayed. I felt like God said, pray over your body.
Then you start learning cellular healing, all the 5 R's, and you start learning how to detox your cells correctly.
I had such a fear, and I feel like it gripped me.
As you start getting rid of the physical toxins, trapped emotional toxins start to come out. So how did you break through those fears, those doubts? But, looking back, how would you say you ended up getting sick?
How?
Yeah, how'd you get sick?
It's not just a one word.
We're going to unpeel your whole story, right? We're going to we're going to pull the whole thing from pain to purposes.
Well, my first instinct word would be mold, right? I think that's one of the major R1 sources.
Yeah.
However, I think it's like you call it, a multi-therapeutic approach. It's a multi-therapeutic approach because it's multifaceted in how we became sick. So just like, even from the microbiome. I remember whenever we looked in our pantry and we need to do some changes. Very first, we got rid.
How long ago was this? Hey, pal.
2022 or early, yeah.
Okay.
2022.
So literally, you knew like, okay, we have to change our diet. But did your husband think you should change your diet at that point?
Well, we had already been on a course of wanting to eat healthier. We actually met through a nutrition seminar. So that was already in the back of our minds of just taking those extra steps.
Right.
Kind of like the Pompa steps.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. All right. So what were your first symptoms? When did you say, okay, something's wrong? And take me back. I want to hear that.
Okay. Well, I think the first thing I noticed that something wasn't right is I started getting those vibrations. If I would like turn my head just ever so slightly, I would feel like this tingling starting in my fingers, back of my neck. And I remember being on a trip with our work, and just something didn't feel right. I also was going through something.
What work were you doing at that time?
Teaching.
Okay.
Teaching.
Yeah, you were. I knew that. Yeah.
And well, this is something I didn't want to mention then, but I'm okay with saying now because it's important, especially for others who are listening, that they have that thing they don't want to talk about, but it's very important to address it. I had some massive hemorrhoids where I was bleeding.
When I was sick, I had massive hemorrhoids.
Who wants to talk about that, right?
It is so painful.
It's so painful.
Yeah.
Dr. Pompa, I remember having to like tread lightly and even walk carefully because it would hurt just to walk. Yeah. And I remember being on that trip and I couldn't tell anyone except my best friend. I said, I'm in so much pain right now. And I had to change. Mm-hmm. And it's painful. And that should have been something right there to, at least go to the doctor.
Yeah, so that was one of the early symptoms. It's funny because, I never thought of this until right now, that was one of my early signs. I would argue almost before I would say I even was sick.
Really?
These hemorrhoids that came out of nowhere. Yeah, showing us that there was some weird microbiome disruption that was occurring, right?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And then, it went to other things. But so the hemorrhoids happened, right? And then this weird tingling, or vibrations?
Yeah.
So neurological weird.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
What else? What else happened?
So then just being in the classroom, I noticed some things. Lights would really bother me. And I remember squinting a lot, wanting to turn the lights off. Of course, the kids liked it too, right? Mm-hmm. And smells,
Oh, well, yeah.
The deodorants, the spray deodorants that kids love to put, just impress the ladies or whatever. But I could smell it.
I hated it. The colognes, the perfumes, it would leave me irritable, fogged, worse. But you could smell it. I always joked and said, if someone took their shoes off, like in an airplane, I could smell it. I'd be like, what is that? Or I smell fungus. I smell
something's in here. Yes.
Okay, so that was it. Then what? Tell me this progression.
So I actually felt like I couldn't be in the same room. It became more and more where lights, smells, sounds, and we know kids.
The sounds.
Yes.
Yes. My wife would have to take, we had 2 young boys at the time. She'd have to take them out.
Yes.
And because I would be like, I can't handle that.
And you almost felt bad.
Write them down. I would yell. I mean, I would, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember one time, unfortunately, because I think others just don't understand unless you've had those symptoms, and it gave me the impression I was kind of crazy. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You know? Well, actually, I don't know.
Yeah.
And the energy.
That's
the $1 million question.
Right.
My energy just became lower and lower. And I attributed it to, well, just the job. And of course, it's taxing on your body. And so I just kind of brushed it to the side. I did at one point go to the doctor, got some blood work. And she said, we probably need to do a stool test. I was like, ugh. We're seeing a decline in your blood supply. And I'm like, well, yes, because I have hemorrhoids. So I brushed it off.
I would have thought the same. That was actually very intuitive, because hemorrhoids, the bleeding could drop the blood volume.
True. And I think I was probably on my cycle at that time too. So I was like, well.
That's not it. Yeah. Okay.
So, goodness. Of course, what increased too were those floaters and in my eyes, and just
gosh, I had all the floaters too.
But also this like a flashing lights in the side of you think something is over there, and you look, and it's in your eye.
Yeah.
And even when you close your eyes, you're like, you still see it, like a flashing light. Oh goodness. It became to the point where I was so low on energy, the thought came to my mind, do I need to do a leave of absence? I don't know that I can continue. Of course, some would probably say that I'm a little stubborn. I like to say I'm determined. So I continued. I pushed.
Who was some? Your husband?
Yeah.
Some. Some.
Yeah. So I trudged on until I couldn't. Right. Well, it was my birthday weekend. Well, let me rewind just a little bit there. We went to a cookout, and I like to say this is a God thing too, because sometimes you just know that when He intercedes for you, and you don't really know what to pray, or God, something's wrong, I don't know what it is. And we went to a cookout, and it was one of our friends, and she happens to be a nurse, and she sat me down. You gonna tell me what's going on? I was like, yeah. She said, and when I told her, I said, okay, I'm gonna put you on the urgent list. Let's go get you checked out. And so we did all the things, right? All the blood works and the things. Well, it was near my birthday that we found out. I remember we went out to just a weekend together, and I got a phone call, and it was from her. She said, where are you? I said, this, birthday weekend, mountains. We love the mountains. Well, I'm pretty sure you have pernicious anemia. When can you get back? We need to start either doing a blood transfusion or iron transfusions, blood transfusions.
And tell our audience, what is pernicious anemia?
So pernicious anemia is basically in your ileum of your small intestine is not absorbing the B12 anymore. Your body is considering it foreign. And so learned all this, right? Intrinsic factor, parietal cells, top the charts, right? There's like the high level, and then there's like way over here level. So definitely with that, pernicious anemia. So there's like different levels, like chronic and then pernicious anemia. So I was like, okay, well, what disturbed me was like, this is the rest of your life. Oh, and by the way, as you learn more, especially when you look up the word pernicious, that's a fun definition. But
tell them the definition.
Well, it's subtle and deadly.
Yeah, subtle and deadly. So when you read those words, what was your feeling?
Dr. Pompa, I became so fearful. And if I could go back to that girl and just give her hope.
You get that sick feeling.
Doom.
Yeah.
It just feels like doom.
The word
like
deadly,
dread.
I think it would get anybody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they're telling you this is the rest of your life.
Rest of your life. You're going to have to take injections for now, probably more later. And of course, then you learn about polyautoimmunity.
Yeah. And then when you ask them, well, why did I get this? They say, well, it's autoimmune. Your body's attacking itself. And you just got that because it runs in your family.
True.
Is that what they told you?
And actually, come to find out, Yes, that is what they told me.
Yeah, that's typically how it goes. But,
yeah. And I did find out just through conversation with my mother, there is anemia, low iron, right? So yeah, the fear. So the fear of even wanting to learn.
Can I have a teaching moment right there?
Yes.
I don't want to stumble. Not to you, to them. Your DNA is not your destiny.
That's right.
Yeah, meaning that we all inherit weaknesses. We all inherit things that, absolutely are possibilities, if you will, right? And those genes get turned on. They get triggered.
Yes.
Right? So she didn't get this because she was doomed her destiny, right? No way. Something triggered it. We're going to get there and tell you what that trigger was. But anyways, go ahead.
Yes. Well, and I had such a fear then about wanting to learn anything. And I consider myself...
What do you mean a fear to learn anything?
Fear to learn anything about pernicious anemia.
Oh, okay. Because God forbid, that would scare you more.
It would.
Because it could be even more deadly than it said deadly.
Yeah, and then when you start doing the whole Google thing, you know how that can take you down different trails, and this is what can happen later in life, and it just... And then you hear you read on Google, life expectancy of those with, and I'm just like, I can't go there, right? So I had such a fear, and I feel like it gripped me. And this wasn't me, though. And
see, the enemy wants that fear.
He does. And so I didn't want to learn anything about it until one night I prayed. I felt like God said, pray over your body. And so I did. I started praying over my body, and I just was reading my journal here recently, knowing I get to talk to the Dr. Pompa. It's cool seeing you live. It really is. It's so cool. Like, this is Dr. Pompa in person.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
What's the difference live and?
I don't know. I mean, you're charismatic still, even in person, and upbeat. So yeah.
Some people say, "Oh my gosh, you're exactly the same person as you are." I'm like, really? I of course I am.
Yeah, which is And I remember I just prayed and I said, God, because God is a healer, right? And so I asked him that.
Yeah, so they're probably like, I feel like the need to fill them in on this, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna pick into this because there's so many important lessons that they need to hear. But your pain to purpose story, okay? So you're going to hear it all, but she finds me.
Yes.
Does everything that, my program, you had a coach.
Absolutely.
She went through my program with a coach, right? She ends up taking my certification where I certify people in this process, right? And then from the certification, she ends up now one of my coaches, okay? Pain to purpose. Hold on, there's so much more. Okay, so that's why for her to say, oh, it's so, crazy seeing you in person because I train the coaches, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so
I get to always see you on a camera or Zoom.
Yeah, exactly. I'm on a lot of cameras and Zoom, especially when you work in the company. So
well, it's funny you said so much more. That's what I feel like God said. I want to do so much more than just heal you. Yes, I'm the God of healing, but I want to do so much more. So I'm like,
yeah. So so back to that's where you were. You were praying. You were praying over your body. You heard like God was speaking that to you. So you started praying, and you heard Him say, "I'm going to heal you, and I'm going to do so much more."
Well, I want to do more than heal you.
Okay, I'm going to do more than here.
I want to teach you how. Right. I want to teach you how, and then you can help give hope to the others. Here I am thinking, okay, I'm not sure how, but and then
that reminds me, and my story, right?
I do.
And God on her knee, Marilee on her knees, my wife, and God speaks to her, as clear as day to her, that not only am I going to get him well, me, but he's going to take a message to the world, right? It's like, and when she would tell me that, I'd be like, I can't get myself well. Okay, so that message didn't go over well, but she hung on to that promise. Here I am.
Right.
Very similar to what you just experienced.
And then I see autoimmune, and it got my attention.
What do you mean see?
I saw autoimmune on Instagram. So on Instagram, I saw autoimmune, and there's Dr. Pompa. Who is this, right? And I watched your video. I remember it being kind of late at night. I didn't care. I stayed up, took the NTA.
Yeah, neurotoxic assessment.
And I felt seen. I felt like, oh my gosh, these are the symptoms I've been having that people don't understand or think that you're...
Yeah, because that assessment has evolved over 20 years, and we know what this looks like, right? So that's why it was like, oh my gosh, yes. They know to ask this. Yeah.
Right, right. And I knew then, and I loved Dr. Pompa. I just want to say this too. I love that you give glory to God. I love that it goes back to him because that's what it really is about. It's about him.
But I can't help it, literally. It's not anything except that. I cannot help it.
And
I appreciate it so much, his love.
The victory that he gives you. That's right. And I felt like that was the more God was talking about that he wanted to do. That fear that gripped me, I felt like it shedded that night that I prayed. Did I receive instant healing? No. I still had pernicious anemia. I still had symptoms. But
he showed you a direction.
He showed me a direction and gave me a word. And I feel like a word from God, that can change the atmosphere. That changes the atmosphere of any room that we're in, is a word from him. And so continued on, and I talked to my husband about it. I said, this is what I want to do. I want to do this. And so we got on the call with a health advisor. And I remember thinking, Dr. Pompa, that I don't care what the price is, I'm going to do it because I felt this is what it is. And back up a little bit too, your explanation of the cell. So when I said I watched those videos,
like as I draw it,
you draw the cell. Good things can't get in, and the toxins can't get out. Your cells are inflamed, so no wonder. Even blood reports can come back good, but yet you're still feeling the way you are.
That's exactly what I say.
Exactly. And I said that makes sense to me. And just, I love your analogies too. So yeah, I said, this is it. And we talked, and I said, I'm in. I want to be a client. And shout out to Linda Dayton. Oh my gosh. We both had her as a coach. So my husband joined in a little bit later.
Yeah.
And this is something
awesome.
I want to say. So my husband does not have like an autoimmune or something serious, right? I said, why wait? Your body, this makes sense to detox seasonally. The world that we live in, why not learn it? And we can do it together, and jumped on.
That's awesome.
So became a client. And oh man, to go from there, that was an amazing experience.
So then you start learning cellular healing, right? All the 5 R's. And you start learning how to detox your cells correctly.
Yes.
Right? The process. So because part of that process that I teach the coaches to take people through is digging people into what I call their perfect storm. R number 1. What are the sources? The perfect storm means it's typically not one. It's 3 sources, stressors, if you will, that come together. Bam, trigger the gene, and you end up with the illness, right? That's exactly. So you kind of led to it in the beginning, but let's talk about your perfect storm that you uncovered with your coach.
Yes. So I was definitely in a position where mold was evident. And
now, were you still in a moldy home, or was it a past moldy home?
Past work environment.
Oh, past work environment. How did you deduce that?
Well, I knew there was mold. We had construction going on in the school. We even had a room.
Okay, first of all, again, another teaching moment, but an irritating one. Many, many schools are moldy because the budgets are so low. They have flat roofs. They leak everywhere, up in the ceilings. They just kind of fix what they need to fix. They don't actually fix the problem, paint over it. And so I can't tell you how many moldy schools there are. And it's making kids and teachers sick. I see this all the time.
Yes.
And it's very, very disturbing. So anyways, this is very common. Go ahead.
So I knew that there was mold. I mean, we would kind of laugh about it. There was a room that we called the mold room where we would kind of have a storage place to just put things in. So I knew that was a problem. And there was a moment that I definitely knew was when like the heating AC unit was leaking. And that's when we had to have construction. And at that time, I was talking to Linda. She was super supportive, encouraging, because this is a process. And you have people that are going through this situation. And mold is, it's scary. It's evil. It's also,
that's what I say.
It's expensive.
And it's expensive. That makes it the evil part. Because people have to uproot their lives oftentimes, or leave jobs, or whatever it is, right? And I always say it's evil because you don't see it. But it's there.
It's there.
It makes you sick, people sick, unknowing. People just think you're crazy, and you start thinking you're crazy, right?
Right.
It grows in dark places. It hates the light, right? It's like, that sounds like pure evil to me.
Yes.
It is. So,
absolutely.
Go ahead.
So mold was a big one. And there was a big decision to make. Do I continue? I love my students. This is where I've been in the community. I know the families. Do I move? And it was an obvious answer to me. So it was just a matter of time to get that situated. So I did go to a different school, brand new built school, so which was nice. But some other sources, I think.
But brand new built school. But here's also what happens: people with mold illness, they start to not do well with any toxins, and when a brand new building has a lot of chemicals. Right?
True. I remember you saying that even when you could buy new furniture or buy a car.
Because I found myself very chemically sensitive. Mercury was part of my story, perfect storm, but I was also in a low-grade moldy home. And so I realized, oh my gosh, I'm reacting to small amounts of mold. This is horrible. But then I became very chemically sensitive. So you have to be careful about brand new too.
True. Yes, exactly. And I think even going through body phase, so starting to detox, I realized some.
So we have a prep phase, prepares you for detox. Then we have a body phase that just clears a lot of the easy to get toxins,
right,
which prepares you for the most important phase, which is the brain phase.
Exactly.
That's getting those deep neurotoxins out. And that's how we got our lives back.
Yes.
But okay. I just was bringing.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah. So in my body phase, I realized another part of my perfect storm, but I didn't really want to bring it up so much. It's that emotional, things that have happened in the past where, I've noticed it started coming up more and more. And
by the way, as you start getting rid of the physical toxins, the trapped emotional toxins start to come out.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it can be physical, chemical, emotional as a perfect storm. So what you're saying is you started realizing there was some emotional stuff that was part of that perfect storm.
Yes, okay. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. And since we're on that physical, chemical, emotional, I think mold was a huge one. And then the emotions came up. And physically, I couldn't. That was another part of symptoms. I just became to a point where I had minimal energy, even to the point where asking my husband, can you please just help me dress today? Like just laying in bed. Can you help me dress? To the point where, and here we are, we met at a gym at a nutritional seminar, and, working out together to where.
And now he's helping you dress.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think those were some the big ones.
And by the way, I hear stories like this and it always brings me back to my own stuff, right? I remember, not only having very little energy to want to get dressed and go to work, right? And what that felt like, but I remember standing in my closet, not being able to make a decision on even what to do. I had that much brain fog. I would be like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And half the time I forgot what I was even doing in there. But decisions, did you get any of that?
Yes. I was going to ask you something. Did you get fears that used to never be a fear?
Oh, gosh. Bizarrely.
I didn't want to drive.
Yeah. Oh, well, first of all, going through, like, if I was driving and all of a sudden it was like a yellow light, I couldn't make a decision to go or not. And I would get all this anxiety.
Yeah.
It was over a stupid yellow light. So driving became a problem. And I would think cars were going to come at me and weird things. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, and that was around the time too that when I just didn't know what was going on, that I'm like, what is.
But that weird fear that you're talking about, it's part of that bizarre, what I call non-worry anxiety, meaning it's just part of that weird feeling of like, oh, like you can't cope with normal things.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it. For me to go into public, like I remember I couldn't look people in the eyes anymore. I'd have to look down and away.
Oh.
Yeah. It was the weirdest thing. They call that mercuryism. That's all of a mercury neurotoxic thing. But I was like, it was the weirdest thing. I couldn't be in a public situation very much. It was stressed me out.
I could see that. Yes. Yes.
Anyways, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I think the molds, getting out of that, found out too, this was actually starting, like right when I met my coach, Linda. One of the questions I asked her is like, well, taking these supplements, you have a lot of questions about the supplements and getting started, what if you get pregnant? That's something that we were wanting to do. And she said, oh, we'll definitely handle that. No worries. And,
because did you have trouble getting pregnant?
Yes.
Okay.
And now at this point, that was the only, reference, so to speak, that I even gave to that. It was just as a, hey, what if? Because you're a woman, women can get pregnant. I never voiced, though, that it's something I wanted. And I remember one day just talking to her, and it came out, and she said, Angela, I'm going to write that down. Because, as a coach, you want to know their why. Why are you here? And not just, I want to feel better.
She kind of, just because you asked the question, being a woman, because I'd have probably glossed over it, she intuitively thought, this is one of her whys, and she asked the question.
And
smart.
Just asking God for healing was a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Just to ask, like, can I ask for that? Not that can God do it? Can I ask for it?
And why do you think that was a big deal? Asking.
That's a really good question, Dr. Pompa.
Because my instinct on that says you must thought of you didn't deserve it or it wouldn't happen. There's different.
Yes, I think there was an unworthy spirit.
Okay. I wonder how many other people have that unworthy spirit. I'm trying to think back. Did I have an unworthy spirit? I don't know. I don't want to give just a flippant answer. I don't know. Maybe I did. I definitely had a doubtful spirit. I definitely was like, what did I do to deserve this spirit? Perhaps, I don't know.
And so I remember Linda saying, I'm going to write that down. And I said, you are? To me, writing something down becomes permanent, right? That's like a thing. And she did.
You're writing that down? Does that make it a goal?
Yeah. Right? And so actually right before I started my supplements, or before, I think it was the same week that I got them, I actually found out I was pregnant. And I told Linda, we were excited. I knew.
By the way, when you start getting rid of toxins, just when you start upregulating cell function,
yes,
the chance of getting pregnant go. Phew.
And
I say this jokingly, but you know how many women I got pregnant? No, I mean, in my days of it, that didn't come out right. I only got one woman pregnant. But what I mean by that is the method of fixing the cell and getting well. I can't tell you how many people weren't able to get pregnant, end up pregnant. And it's like countless. I can't even count.
Yes.
Anyways, so this is
well, and so at that time in the program, we took a pause, right? And so I remember, I told her, like, yeah, we're pregnant. So she said, we're going to take a pause. And it wasn't about a week or two later that I had to call her and say, well, I think I can start back again, and because we had a miscarriage. And she said, are you sure? And I loved the way she showed empathy. She met me right there where I was, wanted to make sure emotionally, mentally wanted to continue. I said, absolutely. This is what I want to do because I know this is what's going to help me get better. And the sooner I start, the better. And that was a process too. So I know that obviously added on to, to that stress. And found out, again, through my mother, she had a history of fibroids and other things that, would hinder someone from being able to hold that or, conceive and hold, to prevent miscarriages. So, did come back, was able to do the body phase and detox with the brain phase. My husband was doing it with me, and I tease him sometimes, like, you got to do the fun stuff, right? I was so sick, though, like, I was losing so much weight. That was another symptom, like, and I know some would probably say, oh my gosh, girl, if you only knew, I'd love to lose weight. Not in this way, right? It was not good. And so I didn't get to do the kind of faster track, as some would say, like my husband, and it was very customized. And compare, you could see how
the Pompa program is, we start with core, but it's very customized. You could be on a completely different
track
protocol track than your husband or
absolutely
whoever.
And I saw that firsthand with him, even down to, now we ate similarly, but he got to do he was a little faster track and doing ketogenic and getting into ketosis and fasting. And
how much weight did he lose?
I don't know if it was so much weight. He just wanted to stay, the energy.
Yeah.
And he said, I remember him telling me just his mental clarity. Like, I just like running on really good fuel. And just that clarity with that, burning ketones, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. And just seeing that. Well, come to the time of when we felt, well, we had one of our calls with Linda, and fast forward a little bit after we've done some detoxing, and we got to have a call, and I wanted to make sure Ed and I both, my husband and I both were on the call together because we had the same coach, but we would have different meetings just based on schedule. And
that's typically how it works.
And got to share the news, right? Guess what, Linda? We're pregnant. And now I just remember that. So, and this one, Dr. Pompa, I knew.
Well, because this time you had time through the detox.
Yes.
Changes everything.
Everything. Even getting, an ultrasound, no fibroids, right? And so anyway, that was just such an exciting call. And I remember having conversations with her and like, this is it, Linda. What do I do?
Yeah.
And we, like I said, we met through nutrition seminars. So we've always been into nutrition and, certifications. But what do I do? She said, there's health centers with Pompa. Sign me up.
So health centers is where I train coaches for years. But recently I just started saying, okay, we're going to certify pain to purpose people.
That's it.
Right? Like, I want to do this. Because I realized actually some of the best were the exceptions where I made that like allowed this person who just wants to do this they were like the best coaches. They were changing lives like Benazotti. And yeah, I mean, there's like so many examples like that, Tammy Stewart. And so then I was like, okay, let's just certify the average person from pain to purpose who wants to do this and change other lives. Boom.
Yeah.
So you got certified in my program.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I said, I remember telling her, I want to do this as soon as possible. How can I get in? And I already had a forethought. This is what I want to do. I want to be working for Pompa. I want to learn from the best. Dr. Pompa, you talk about getting in the room.
Yeah.
Getting in the room and
put yourself in the right room if you want to go to a certain level, right?
And know that, know what identity God is calling you as, your God identity, right? As David perceived he was king. And that was a whole journey in itself,
we're going to talk about identity because I saw the book over there. So hold on, folks. Stay tuned because we're going somewhere really special. Uh-oh. Okay, bring it in. We're going to stop right there, though. I mean, so you know where you're at, right? In your mind. Okay,
yes.
Bring that baby in here. The detox absolutely was part of this child, yeah.
Yes, and that was my why, but I was so afraid to voice that, right?
Yeah.
Going back to, could I ask God for healing? And then once I got there, well, I'm not, asking for a baby too. And yeah, I'm so grateful. And I'm just thankful that you said yes to God and that you said yes to this mission and that just coming full circle. I'm like, I get it, God. Like you wanted to show me more. And yes, you're the God of healing. Right now you can heal, but just to show me more. And this has changed the trajectory of my life. I went from teaching 15, 16 years and now.
You're still teaching though.
Yeah. In a different capacity, right? And now a mama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's when God, obviously I had said this when Marilee crying out for answers, not only is he going to get me well, I'm going to take a message to the world, right? You immediately, felt that pressure, but, it had nothing to do with me, first of all. And secondly, it's not me taking a message to the world anymore. I do my part. Yeah. Look how many people you're impacting now.
Oh,
right?
man.
And all these, the coaches and certified people in the process. What we teach is what God showed me, right? It's like what God showed me that when I was sick, I didn't even realize how important it was and how relevant now for such a time as this.
Yes.
Right? It's like how many people have the symptoms that we had or neurotoxic going through it, can't get pregnant, blah, blah, blah. We have a world to impact.
Absolutely.
And I could never do it. It's if I'm doing this myself, I'm dead in the water. Right? It's like, but God's calling those and maybe you. Calling the people into this, and it's not my information, it's what he showed me, and that's the exciting part.
Someone's excited, huh?
Yeah. So when you got the news that you're pregnant again, was any part of you scared because you thought, I don't want to go through another miscarriage?
I would like to say cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
But something was different about it.
Okay.
In that that's a whole nother story, Dr. Pompa. We could go episode 2, right? Just the space steps that I wanted to take. For example, we went to go pick out paint what we wanted to paint the nursery with. This was before I knew. And just taking those steps, like just believing, God calls into what's not there, but he calls it as it is to come forth. And I just wanted to have that faith, like I feel like God is leading me through this. He's brought me to Pompa to help teach me how to detox. He knows that he's given me these desires. I mean, I could read you. I brought my journal, but I just reading back through my journal, even just that was my desire, and voicing that to him. And so I believed for it and started taking those steps of faith, and then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but that it is scary, but you stepped into it, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
I was still nervous. Of course, didn't tell anybody, but the husband about. By the way, we're pregnant, and then just waited even to tell family and friends, but definitely anxiously, excitedly waiting to tell them, because I knew this was different. Yeah. This is it. This is part of my story that get to share.
So the book sitting over there, is I would always say it's one of my favorite books ever.
Absolutely,
because the reason is because it let me see my true identity of who God created me for, right? I was still taking on individual clients, and I tell the story that I was taking my own mastermind where I was teaching practitioners, right? And I do these masterminds, and the gal who worked for me for many years said, okay, you're going to do it too, but you're going to be my partner. So I'm like, okay, I'm taking my own seminar. That's great, right? And in that process, I realized that my identity wasn't just individual, meaning teaching individuals. It reminded me that my identity was to take a message to the world. It was to take it to the masses.
Yeah.
That was, let's show the book. There's the book right there.
Yes, I brought
and David perceived he was king. So in a nutshell, the book, and you should get the book.
Absolutely.
But David had all kinds of false identities put on him, right? As we all do, by the way. And typically it's from loved ones, parents, people who care, people who love us, teachers, whatever, give us false identities of who we think we are. And as a dyslexic, I had all kinds of false identities. I'm stupid, I'm dumb, right? And out of false identities create bad behavior and fears, right? We have fears because of false identities. We don't go in life where God wants us to because of false identities, right? And I believe God's always evolving us into be the person he created us to be. That's our true identity.
Yes.
Who God created us to be is our true identity. And it is an evolution in that process. David, he had false identities of the bastardized son, that when Samuel, the prophet, came to say something to his father Jesse, anoint the next king of Israel. Where's your oldest son? He brings him out. Not it. Next son, not it. Next son, not it. That's all I have. Oh, wait, you David? Like, in other words, he didn't even think of him. It was the bastardized son, right? And of course it was David. But then his brothers gave him all kinds of false identities. Oh, go back with your lowly sheep, right? You don't belong here on the front lines. When he brought them, food and, things that his father said, bring these to your brothers. And they're like, go home. So false identity, right? But wins along the way. He slays a lion and a bear, right? Which allowed him to step in to his true identity, as he steps up to Goliath.
Yes.
Right? And he takes on this thing because he saw this as just a God problem. Not, it wasn't a size of this giant problem. It was a God problem. And, David, though, still functioned mostly in those false identities as he became the king of Israel. He literally still was messing up his life and the life of, the country of Israel. And then David perceived he was king. In my Bible, you can see where he crossed over. He perceived, meaning who and what God created him for.
That's right.
And when he got that identity down, David changed, and he changed the nation.
Yeah.
He changed the world.
Yes.
David was the savior. But yeah, I mean, so what did that book do for you? Because they took me into realizing I am called to this. I forgot. I'm not. So it took me to another level of my true identity.
Gosh. If I can open this up, there's this one part where shout out to Ian. my head coach Ian.
Yeah, love Ian.
Yes, we talk about this every once in a while, and we'll bring it up. We just love it. But talk like your father was one that stood out to me. You know, what you speak over your life, and what we're speaking over ourselves is also, you know, comes back to, well, where are your thoughts? You know, and back to like vitamin G, right? Even just one of those little seeds that
we speak over ourselves oftentimes is a reflection of how we think of our identity. Even.
Yes, and then what you also speak over yourself, with, you know, like healing, where you speak, this is just a storm, right? And I can't help but think, you know, I sometimes tell clients, you know, if there's a valley, what's on both sides? There's mountains to climb, there's peaks. So, and sometimes there's going to be those rocky times where you do feel like you're in the valley. But remember,
you feel like there's no coming out.
Right. But just talk like your father, you know, remembering who you are, who he is in you. And that was some things that really stood out to me. Gosh, there's so much, because you can look.
There's so much in that book.
Like underlining a lot.
I know. Yeah, my book is like underline. Yeah,
like, there was a time.
But then you're going to bring it out and brought mine, because I could have been like, oh my gosh, right? Yeah.
Impromptu. There is a time when it's proper to flee from our present job and look for new employment. I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
well, because so why would that happen? Because as you step into a new identity of yourself, an understanding of who God really created you to be, you said it. You were there, but you said that you knew that God had something more for you, different for you.
Yeah.
So now doing what you're doing is you stepped into that identity, who God really created you to be. More so that, you know, it wasn't that it was wrong what you were doing, but it was a step by step to get him to what he really created you to do, from pain to purpose. I always tell the people I'm coaching, look for your purpose in your pain.
Yes.
It sounds crazy, but it's true. But from pain to purpose, there's one more word. You know what the word is?
Promise.
The promise. Yeah.
Yes,
you hang
absolutely.
On to the promises.
I always think of Marilee when you say from pain to purpose, and to promise.
Yep,
Because
exactly.
she always
says she hung on to the promise.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And were there promises that you held on to?
Yes. One being, of course, Bo. Didn't know it was Bo then, but and just knowing this isn't wasted. And Dr. Pompa, is something I wanted to just share too, like just coming from, you know, being sick as a client, then to getting certified and now coaching. You know, I remember that's what I want to do, is to bring hope. You know, when you're told you have this diagnosis, it's for the rest of your life. By the way, this might come later. There is hope, and your DNA is not your destiny. And that gave me hope, and wanted to do the same to do that. I lost my train of thought there for a second.
Well, yeah, you wanted to say this to me. You said about
with coaches, just or from a coach's perspective now. If you're in that spot, you know, as a client or just someone who is sick, and you're, you know, going even through the Pompa method, right? Through this process. It takes time, and it is a process. And I think what made me think of this was God's purpose. Sometimes it is also a strategy, and the way that he carries it out. It sometimes takes time, right? It took time to get there, as you say, and it has. So even now, Dr. Pompa, you know, if you were I just went to a hematologist, and my parietal cells and my intrinsic factor is still very high. Now, I will tell you this. I was just, shout out to BPE, you know, my pod group, the best pod ever, with Ian and Aaron and Whitney. I have to give a shout out. But, and I was just recently told them of an update of my story, and went to a hematologist just to, you know, let's just go. I just want to see. And everything came back except for intrinsic factor and parietal. So that's still a work in progress. But my B12.
Normal.
Not just normal, but like functionally.
And people out there were like, well, that's it. Just take B12. See, no, it's not like that.
No.
Just so you know, it's not that simple.
It's not. I was on B12 injections, even in the process of starting Dr. Pompa's program, right? And was just now able to get off 7 months ago. So 7 months ago. And then actually the only thing I take now is mitomethylator.
Yeah.
So I was on sublingual B12 as well. But now it was like, wow, look at that number, like 900 something. I'm like, goodness.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Might want to, Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's like I don't want to leave this thing of identity, because
Yes.
it's like people don't understand that when I teach this, right? I teach that the closer you are to walking in your true identity, and I don't think we're all there. I'm saying, like I'm getting every year. Hopefully I get closer to my true identity, who God created me to be, right? But the closer you're walking to that is almost proportional to two things: your success and your happiness. When you see people who are just like not happy, they're just not in a great place in their life for many reasons. I always think, what false identities are keeping them from where God wants them to be?
Dr. Pompa, that makes me think of something to relate to your R1, right? The root causes. And that's what I say I love about Dr. Pompa's program and what it's set apart. He gets to the root cause. But even going on a spiritual level, like your identity, right? Well, what are those lies or false identities that have grown roots in your life that now you think are truth?
It becomes true to us.
It is.
I thought I was dumb because I couldn't read. I mean, I'm saying, when you can't read, you're dumb. I don't care what you say. Oh, you're dumb. You can't read. Because that's a judgment of smarts, right? And then you can't learn other things. So we believe them.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
And so you're saying those roots end up enrooted in our life like a toxin bioaccumulated.
Yes.
That's keeping us from feeling normal, functioning the way God designed us to function, feeling great, thinking clear, right? But those false identities are just like those toxic roots.
Absolutely. And I feel like this is so relatable in going back to what our thoughts are. Even like, that's why something that really stood out to me was talk like your father. How would your father speak over you? When it says he sings over you. And, I had to realize, what am I speaking over myself? How do I see myself? Really, God, how do you see me? And
that's a better question. God, how do you see me?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And just speaking that over your life each day, your thoughts matter. What you say matters. You matter, right? That kind of brings me to a message that I would used to teach my kids, right? And tell them every day is, in case anyone hasn't told you, you matter. But going from that philosophy of what are you speaking over yourself every day? What are your thoughts? It's the first start of your day. What are you grateful for? So, and even
it was, as I think about why, I mean, those words were spoken over me for, years from my wife, right? That you're going to take a message to the world, right? Even when I'm like, she's right, here I am, right? It's like, I still didn't see myself that way, right?
Yeah.
It was like, so when I did that exercise, when I did my own mastermind, I stepped into it. And I had to change the way I spoke about myself to the point. I had to speak the way my father created me for.
Yes.
I am taking a message to the world. I am called to take a message to the world, right? It's like, that's why I'm here. That's why I exist. I was designed for it. I was created for it. That is stepping in. I just got goosebumps. That's stepping into the promise. And what do I always say about when we're about ready to step into a promise God has for us? What happens?
You better get ready.
You better get ready. The resistance happens, the fear, the doubt,
Absolutely.
But God sends us someone to speak what words to us?
Yes.
What words? Rock, kazak, amatz.
Yes.
Rock, kazak, amatz, which the English translation in your Bibles is be strong and courageous, but it's so much more than that. It means really that, the Hebrew translation is God stepped in for you. He already put you there. All you have to do is trust him and follow him, and it's his strength, not mine. And here Israel is about to step into the promise God gave them. 40 years wandering the desert. Here they are, and all they saw was 31 armies, right? All they saw is the excuses not to go. All they saw was, and they made complaints to, Joshua and Moses, right? But Rakazakamatz. Remember, God spoke through Moses to Joshua, Rakazakamatz, Joshua to Israel, Rakazakamatz, Israel, meaning follow me, and it's me, not you.
Yes, and even to his disciples, he said, "Take courage." Right?
Yeah.
He didn't say take control. Yeah. He said, "Take courage," because who's with I'm with you. Yeah. Right? And I also thought about Gideon too. Remember when he was threshing the wheat? He was hiding. Yeah. Right? Someone we think of hiding as, timid, shy, scared. but he calls him a mighty warrior. Yeah. He calls him what he is as what he doesn't feel, though.
And what did Gideon say? Wait a minute, I'm from the weakest tribe.
The weakest tribe.
Why do you say this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
But what God said was really rock his lock. He said, oh, no, wait, hold on a second. You have nothing to fear because it is in my strength.
That's right.
You will fight.
That's right. Yeah. Yes. Oh, good stuff. Listen.
It is. Yeah, it is good stuff. No, because I just got goosebumps again because people are trapped in, we all get trapped in false identities, and it keeps us from where God wants us to be. Yes. Even in healing.
Yes.
We get false identities around, I am a diabetic. You're not a diabetic.
No.
Don't define yourself like that, right? It's like, I am autoimmune. No, you're not.
Thank you for bringing that up. Ian and I were talking about that just recently, too, where we don't call it my or mine. We don't give it those names. It is. Yes, I was diagnosed with that, but that's not what I...
Oh, yeah, I can't eat that because of my autoimmune.
Yeah. But, that I'm so glad that we're bringing this up. And like I said, Jesus tells his disciples in the middle of the storm, take courage. And this was right after a miracle too, right?
Yeah.
And then he calms the storm.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it is when we're about ready to step in to further what God has for us, the promise, right? And again, it's the next promise, and I'm still leveling up myself. The fear, in fact, does come, right? So for you to be, to take the step, from the teacher, obviously from the teacher to the patient or the client to the, the certification into the coach, what type of fears did you have, because you were stepping further into an identity?
Oh, absolutely. So, just the fear is if this is for me, right? Or is this, it works for other people, but is it going to work for me?
That's a normal fear. Yeah.
Am I doing it fast enough? It's like, that's something I see even as like from a different hat when you wear that coach's hat too. And that's some encouragement I wanted to share too, was because you think, am I doing it fast enough? This thought that, well, maybe because I'm not on that speed or that level, or things aren't coming at a certain pace, that maybe it's not for me, right?
See, these are the little things that the enemy puts in our minds, because he didn't want you to get there. So there's doubt.
Yeah, and like you said, an unworthiness of if I could be a mother, or if even to ask for healing, if that's something that I could have a desire for. So
how did you break through those fears, those doubts, those?
Oh, I don't think that was. I think sometimes I still going through breakthrough, right?
Yeah, we are
process
going through a breakthrough. Right now.
Gosh, yeah. Even just being able to be on your podcast, like just I'm gonna laugh about this. I had a dream one time, I'm going to meet Dr. Pompa, but it was probably because I was so excited when we had our interview that first time on Zoom when I was going through health centers, and maybe because we had the interview or whatever, but I was like, I'm going to meet him one day, and had a dream that I did, but that was funny, but in the dream, I just remember being just so thankful, and I just want to take this moment and just say, I'm just so thankful for what you're doing and how you are helping others, and just saying yes to the calling, because it's like I said.
Well, likewise, you said yes to the calling, because again, I need thousands of you, right?
Yeah.
So please,
True. And the fears of, can I get it all done? There is a lot. It can be a little bit overwhelming I remember first starting off as a client and watching the modules, which I'm a lifelong learner, love to learn, but I remember thinking, goodness, this is quite a bit, but it's a process, and it's a journey, and it does not have to be rushed, and you can take your time. I remember going through the pantry and just, of course, the first thing we got out was any bad seed oils, right? But then progressively just getting, making swaps with our foods, making good, better, best options in what we eat, even just what we cooked in, and diet variation. I had a misconception about that. I honestly, at first, I just thought.
Tell them what diet variation is, but I want to hear your misconception. I can't wait.
Diet variation was was, let's just mix it up. Let's have some greens and let's have different vegetables each night and maybe some different meats, and we'll just have different food. Different. I just thought variation was different.
Yeah, which arguably that's variation, but that's not what I mean. Yeah.
Right. But it's definitely like, for example, if, I like Benazati, and he says it too, with starting a carnivore diet, great for autoimmune, right? Which I'm excited about doing after I'm done nursing. But but even so, not to stay on that for a long period of time. Yeah. Change it up. It gives those stressors to your microbiome so that you can adapt, right? Change it up 4-1, the 4-2-2 or the 5-1-1. Yeah. Do some intermittent fasting, but remind your body that you love to feed it, right? Yeah. Feasting, open those carbs.
That's weekly diet variation, right? Days you feast, days you famine.
Yes, and I love the idea too, especially just learning more. I'm currently reading the, Mindy Pelz's book, and learning more about how so I can be the best coach that I can, especially for our women too, and when to fast, when to eat. Right.
And when Mindy came to my first seminar, she was sat in the front row and she was just eating the whole seminar. And I remember she tells the story of when she looked around and realized that she's the only one eating, because that seminar, I was teaching a lot of fasting, diet variation, right? And she didn't know anything about fasting, but she didn't realize that we actually practice it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, here she was just pigging out the whole time. It's hilarious. Yeah. Yeah, she's done such a great job of spreading the mission,
And another misconception I had was fasting. I thought it was eating less, which, yes, there's days or times you have a partial fast or one meal a day, but just even when you're intermittent fasting, to still just eat less often, not eating less, but less often. Yeah, that was a game changer.
Yeah, right. Because if you just eat less all the time, the body's metabolism will slow down. But if you eat a meal to full, it doesn't think it's starving. So the idea is you eat less by eating less often.
Yeah.
And then you actually start to lose weight, right?
Yeah.
So, but you don't lose your metabolism. So that's the key. I think it's normal we all have doubts, right? Especially when we're moving into a new place where God wants us, a new identity stepping in. What were some of your doubts? I know you had it because I just heard your husband say, she sometimes has doubts. I'm like, yeah, that's normal. I still have doubts.
Oh, gosh, all the time, right? Just doubts, even coming on to see you, Dr. Pompa. It's like, am I going to get, are my words going to fit right? Or am I going to stumble? Am I going to say a lot? Or doubting if and he called me to come on to his podcast, things like that too. But,
I mean, these are all normal things, right? But, public speaking is the greatest
Public speaking is, that's the one thing. And also, the season that you're in, and I'm sure others out there can relate, is there a light for me? I wanted to point something out in my journal that I noticed. Sometimes God will keep you in a season that may seem slow, but it's His love and steadiness that keeps you, something your eyes do not see. So there's something about your future that God knows, and God can give you a word suddenly, and a sudden word is from the steady hand. But it's in that process, right, that we do have those doubts in those moments, and having those doubts of
read it one more time.
Yeah.
Because that was so powerful, because God can give you a word suddenly.
Yeah.
That just disrupts everything.
There's something about your future that God knows. God can give you a word suddenly. A sudden word is from the steady hand.
Yeah.
And a word for me
because He sees our future. He sees what we don't see. He sees our true identity. He sees what He called you to. He sees the promise the way, we don't see it. So then, therefore, He could change it like that. He did that in my life and yours.
I feel like I have something from each stage. So as a client, I remember the word was live. I was listening to this song called Rattle, and I just kept hearing that word over and over. God said live. God said live. And it was the same day that I went to the hospital feeling so low that it actually did feel like death. Going back to B12, right? Your functional levels, at least a minimum of 400, 500, right? But I was a 6. So that was a word for me. And I remember my friend coming to me at the hospital, and she said, I just feel like temporary. This is temporary. But it's in that season too that it does feel slow. But God sees your future. God is He has the pen in his hand.
Yeah.
And then as a client, going through health centers, that was, this is a lot of information, right? I'm changing careers.
Yeah.
Changing careers.
Yeah, that's
the
scary.
The doubt of, when I do something, I want to be the best at it,
Yeah.
right?
So am I going to be good enough?
Am I going to be good enough,
Yeah.
right? Sounds like there's a theme here. And then even as a coach, knowing how to meet your clients individually and where they're at in the moment. Like, and I feel like it was a word that just advocate. There's, God is my helper. God is my advocate, and He will bring to remembrance, right?
Yeah.
And, and He's our teacher. He will ultimately teach
when
us.
I'm always teaching, training coaches or doctors, I'm always saying, meet people where they are.
Yes.
Meaning you don't go at people with this, carnivore diet when they're like, I'm still eating fast food, right? It's like, meet people where they are. Small changes, where they can handle their headspace, right? Bring them slowly up the ladder of healing.
And it's okay that it's slow.
Yes.
It's okay. You're not, if there's like this end goal, you're not missing it.
Yeah.
It's wherever you are is therapeutic for you, whether that's dosing or whether that's let's stick to just the basic cellular healing diet.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's good for your body.
Absolutely.
And that was me.
Yep.
I had to go low and slow, and I couldn't be where my husband was at the time. He got to do things at a different pace, but that's okay. It's back to, customization for where you're at in your journey too. So,
on that subject of just, having doubts, and, I think the answer is we all have doubts.
Absolutely.
But it's trusting God in it, that again, it's knowing your identity, right? It's knowing that I'm called to take a message to the world. It's knowing that I'm called to do this. It's knowing that I'm just hanging on to this promise, right? My wife hung on to the promise that I'm going to take a message to the world. It's like, but it's okay to have doubts.
Yeah.
But we hang on. But I think when I do get the doubts, that is when I say, okay, Lord, you have to make it right in me.
Yes.
You have to remind
me. And it
me.
really goes back to Him.
And what did Gideon do? You brought up Gideon earlier, right? Gideon said, okay, all right, well, look, you're going to have to show me then. He did. He did. He said, okay, basically, you're going to have to, absolutely confirm that this is you and this is from you, right? I do that all the time.
But isn't that amazing how God is? He will meet you where even when we're not faithful, He is, or even when we're doubting, He still reveals Himself, and He'll still show His just unwavering love and kindness toward us, and just His sweetness about Him. So, oh gosh, so
what's funny in that story of Gideon too, right? In the end, Gideon did nothing but trust. I mean, he didn't have to do anything fighting, right? And it was very clear that everything that he had Gideon do had nothing to do with power. Matter of fact, I believe it's been a while, but he wanted to go at it with this many men, and God said, "No, it's this many." No, it's this many.
Because doesn't it go back to it's not about it's truly to see God's strength in it.
That's it.
Right. Otherwise, we would get ourselves
That's right.
credit.
God didn't want Israel to think for one moment it was their strength. It is absolutely not so. Taking too many men, they realize.
Well, I want to ask you a question. So,
I love it.
Did you have some doubts or some fears making this documentary, this new Toxic Nation documentary?
I always have doubts and fears.
Yeah.
I'm being honest. I do.
Documentary, by the way.
Remember, I'm the dyslexic. I couldn't read, and I was the dumb kid, right? It's like, but I wasn't. Now I do know that my superpower was in my dyslexia.
Yeah.
I now realize the reason I'm able to remember and have categories just now is because of the way my brain works, right?
Yeah.
It just has trouble following a line and reading,
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that took some years to do. And I always still say every bad behavior I have as an adult still comes out of my insecurity from, that, right? But, getting better. No, we all still have doubts. I know God. When early as a Christian, I had a vision of myself on television.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an internet television thing because we didn't have that. I couldn't conceive it. But So even to this day, I know he's calling me to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but I still have doubts, right? It's like, but yet I'm not shaking that vision he gave me.
Good.
There's a promise there.
Yes.
And I always feel I am called to it. I'm going to speak the way what did you say? I'm going to speak the way my father speaks, over
That's
me.
right.
I am called for that.
Come on.
I am called to take a message to the world, and I am called to do that in front of that many people, right?
I love that documentary, by the way.
So yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So, so there I was, right? I got to be, in that documentary, Toxic Nation, by the way, if you haven't seen it, but, you'll see more of it, but, blessed to be there because I'm taking a message to the world.
That's right.
God designed me for it. He developed me for it. He gave me the skill sets for it.
Yes.
Right? So, you're sitting here for a reason. You're sitting here because God said so, right?
Man.
God planned it. God has purpose in you. He had purpose in everything he allowed in your illness, every bit of it.
I sometimes think about that and I'm like, it had to happen.
Yeah, it had to happen. My sickness had to happen.
To bring, so that we are, it was a client that said, well, let me know, have you been through something like this? What's your story?
Mm-hmm.
And I was so thankful that he asked that. He said, because honestly, I need to know that somebody's been in the fire like me, that someone's in the fire with me. I'm like, I'm right there with you.
I can never impact the people that I have impacted or will impact without going through it.
Yes.
Because you can never truly relate, number one, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's always me going, oh no, I know exactly how you felt.
Mm-hmm.
And then now there's trust and rapport.
Yeah.
Right. Now there's an ability to understand. Of course, I wouldn't have learned anything that I teach if I didn't go through it. So God allowed it, right? God allowed it.
Yeah.
He allowed it in my life. God works all things out for good for those who love the Lord. There's
Romans 8:28. When you say that, I always say that. That is literally my life verse from going back to a lot, and going back to the emotions that were my stressors. That was a life verse for me.
Mm-hmm.
And just hanging on to his word.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And we can look back. I mean, I look all the way back to my dyslexia now and I go, oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I'm able to do this because of it.
Yeah.
It's like, if only, how they sometimes say, like, what would you say to your 6-year-old self, right? I would say to my 6-year-old self, like, listen, God is going to use this for something you're going to do here. So you're okay. I made you like this. You're good. That's your superpower, right?
That's
like
superpower.
See it, all you see is the insecurity and like, oh my gosh, I wish I was like other kids. I wish I was smart. I dreaded first day of school. I dreaded every day of school.
Yeah.
Just because there's embarrassments. Right?
Oh yeah.
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 What growing up, did you, what was your growing up like?
Now, Dr. Pompa. Narrow it down for me. Like, you mean just in school?
I mean, just growing up, period. Did you grow up in a good family? Did you grow up easy? Was it, did you have hard stuff? Did you,
Well, it was challenging. And I think that's where another part of my story comes in. Definitely some stressors there, right? I think that were brought up definitely during body and brain phase, that some unsettledness or some things that I needed to I guess go to God about, really. Mm-hmm. It's not in our hands to deal with it, but to take it to God and let go, to forgive. There were some things that needed to be forgiven.
Mm-hmm. By the way, forgiveness is like detox.
Oh gosh. That's quotable.
Yeah.
That is so true. It is. Wow. And even just learning what forgiveness is and what it is not.
It's true.
That's been a huge thing. I've been reading a couple of books.
Yeah, people are like, I don't want to forgive him because I don't like that person. And it's like, well, that has nothing to do with forgiveness.
It's not about. Yeah.
Irrelevant.
Yeah. And that unforgiveness can create a prison within ourselves, right? And just realizing it's not so much about the event, but just your heart and trusting God with that event that happened, and not that it made that event right, but allowing,
So you had an event?
I had some events.
Some events.
Yes. So there was some abuse as a kid. Family member? A close person that we knew, that there was some abuse. And it's funny you bring the, or funny. It's interesting that you bring this up because this is part of the story that I would share with my students. And the way that I would bring it up was, I want to just tell you a story about a girl who went, in just her school. And I would share it in like the gymnasium with the kids. And I would share like, there was this girl and, she battled with some things, she was abused as a kid, and she remembered just loving school. School was her safe place. Right. And she would love getting to hear that she'd get to stay after school and just the more times that she spent there, and that was in elementary. And then as she became in middle school, everything started changing. She had more teachers, she had lockers and just more homework, right, too, and all the things. And then just a story of gradually going and then to high school, first boyfriend, first job. And through that story, I would tell them how she would face challenges. And even though, by middle school, the abuse stopped, that she still faced the battle of herself with, is she good enough? Is she the problem? And
because the abuse, you think maybe it was you that was the problem or deserved it, or everyone thinks that is oddly.
Yeah,
is, right?
Absolutely. And just at that time, not knowing really my mother at the time, and then high school, I always had a relationship with my father. However, it became rocky, right? We have some rocky moments, and there was a separation time, and there was a time I was by myself and having to figure things out as far as getting to school, and being able to go to school after high school. I didn't think that was a possibility. I wanted to be a teacher, but I didn't know how I was going to get there.
Why didn't you think you'd be able to go to school after high school?
Well, a lot of things, right? When you're in that mindset, I don't have money. I don't have a way to get there. I don't, am I going to be able to graduate? Which, as far as
limited beliefs, false identities.
Yes, mm-hmm. Yes. And I had someone else that just changed the trajectory of my life, and it was my counselor, and she took me, so to speak, under her wing and taught me how to interview, took me out to buy me clothes. And anyway, the story that I'm sharing with my students, they find out, through the story I share, fast forward, she hears her name, and it's graduation. Angela Ramey, at the time, Ramey. And she walks across the stage, and then you see the kids, they're like, that's our teacher, right? But really to just show, like, they're not alone. I see you. I know that you're going through things, and it's not wasted, your story. And anyway, so then I'm like, fast forward.
That's another example, though, of you able to utilizing your pain in a purpose. Here you are as an influencer, the teacher,
yeah.
And you're making, these kids are going, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I fear.
Yeah, exactly. And, being able to relate to them. And then here she is, Miss Ramey, and she's been inspired by our students to write a book, and based off what she teaches them every day. And before they ever walk in the door to complete an assignment, they are humans, and they are her kids first. They're coming in with stories of their own, and I always would tell them that you matter in what you're going through. And so I think that
but you would never be able to tell them that they matter, or even think to tell them that they matter, if you didn't go through the abuse you went through to think you might not matter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you know what I'm saying? Again, it's pain to purpose, right?
Yeah.
It's like, exactly. So we look for a purpose in our pain.
That's right. And just, so through that, I wrote a book, and it was funny because this was a group that I looped with, and we had set a goal the first year to write a book, and they all set their own goals. So they finally asked me, well, Miss Ramey, when are you writing your book? And I said, I don't even know the title. And they go, we do. It's what you tell us every day. And I'm like, what is that? You matter. And I'm like, of course. So I wrote it and based it off, like, thinking back when I read it, even myself, it's a short poem, right? It's just, that's what I would say to this little girl, that, your thoughts matter, and what you're going through matters. And it's rocky right now, but you will come out. It starts off, it's called Like a River, You Matter.
Yeah.
I actually brought you a book because I wanted you to know, well, you matter, but You and Benazati have lately I've been watching your videos too, and you talk a lot about, gratitude, and also not just gratitude, but your thoughts and how that they matter. And this goes to even, your clients as well, or just those in the Pompa program, those who are sick and needing some healing too. Your thoughts matter. Like that is the start of your day.
Because your thoughts become you.
Yes.
They matter.
Exactly.
I love that.
And but it's basically starts from like a small stream, and throughout the story it becomes, your story is not wasted. It can look like a big beautiful ocean in the end, right?
Where can they get this?
Oh, it's Amazon. I didn't mean that for a plug. I really
no. I want to put. People are going to ask. No, you don't understand. It's like people they want to know, right? So on Amazon, they can get it on Amazon,
True.
right?
But I wanted to give it to you because I love how you definitely you set this tone, that how that does make a difference. What you put on repeat, that feedback loop of your thoughts. Yes. We have feedback loops in our body, but it also is in our spirit as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you already gave some advice there, like, speak about yourself over yourself like the Father would, right?
Absolutely.
Because, that's how we change our thoughts.
Yeah.
Right. If we start speaking like God speaks of us, about ourselves and to ourselves, that changes our thoughts. If we change our thoughts, literally, it is a signal that goes directly into the cell, and then your DNA literally starts to form different proteins, and those proteins become us. Your thoughts change us. Read Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. That is the science. That is not woo-woo. That is science. It's not woo-woo. I mean, meaning it can sound like, oh, yeah. No, you become your thoughts.
Yes.
You become your thoughts.
I believe it.
Yeah. Listen, there's this man sitting over here, okay? He's our producer.
Yeah.
He told me a story last night, and I told this story to my son. I told this story to my wife. So I said to him, I asked him the question, man, you're really driven. How did you get here? Like, what did you do? Like, I just wanted to know more about him. He said, I owe my success to my father. He was from Argentina, hard upbringing. I think he lost his parents early in life, et cetera, et cetera. So he said, and I said, yeah, you know what? I would say this similar about my father. I remember my father outside shoveling the driveway at like 4:30 a.m., just to get out and go to work. And I remember rolling over and just communicated love to me. It was like just something. I watched my father bust his butt for our family all the time. That communicated love to me. But then he said, yeah, but you know what? It's interesting because I have a twin sister, and her life's very different. She's on drugs, et cetera. And she would say, I blame my father for the life I'm living, for the life that I have. So the fact is he attributed his success to the father. She attributed her failure to the father. What does that tell us?
Yeah.
That tells us our thoughts are everything.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, so wait a minute, hold on a second. If she'd have just changed her thoughts and perceptions about her situation and looked at her father differently, her life would be different. The answer is that the proof is yes, it would, because his is.
Yeah.
So his thoughts created his success in his life and his happiness. Her thoughts created hers. That's a powerful thought. Dude, that's a powerful thought, man. Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
The book.
Yeah, and just the fact that, what you're thinking, like it goes back and it creates that groove, almost like when, those old desks that you put the pencil at the top of the desk, it creates that groove in your brain over and over, and that feedback that you tell yourself all the time. And when you tell yourself one way or another, that becomes
who you
truth.
are.
And right,
that became her truth, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
It's like, so I mean, look, we could take that to another level, right? You took that abuse and somehow you said, I'm going to make myself better from it, right? I thought to myself, I didn't matter. You learned that you do matter, and now you're changing lives because of it, right? Or it could have been the other way, right? You could have thought,
absolutely,
woe is me. You could have thought, I don't matter. You don't matter. No one matters. Nothing matters. Da da da. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm meant to be alone. That I'm meant to be abandoned.
Absolutely. Yeah. Exactly. So in other words, our thoughts are anything. You could take any situation, and you could change your thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying, your situation, this situation is good. I'm not belittling it. But the point is we still do have a choice of how we think about, how we perceive it, and then how that becomes us.
Yes.
Or not, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And there was a cute little exercise I heard of, like if you look in the room right now, I want you to pick out everything that is white. Everything that is white. And just look in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Now, close your eyes and tell me what was green.
I don't know. Yeah.
Because what your thoughts were thinking was like, I got to look for something that, and it just something super simple, but it's kind of like relative to like, what are your thoughts on? What are you focused on? Your focus becomes what your thoughts, your beliefs.
That's a great little example, right? Because his sister's thoughts were, too bad for me. My father abandoned me. So now I'm looking for abandonment. I'm looking for rejection. I'm looking for
what you're looking for. Exactly.
His thoughts were, wow, he sacrificed his life. Success. I'm going to do the same. I'm not going to let him down. I want to make him happy. That's powerful.
Yeah.
And it created a life around it, right?
Mm-hmm.
How would you say this? You're healing. Well, let me back up. How much of that childhood, right, that experience, the abuse, played into your sickness, but then how you overcame it, how much of that played into your healing, would you say?
Wow, that's a good question, Dr. Pompa. That's a good one. How did it play into my sickness? Well, I'm going to go to body phase. Because I notice, this is a big question too. What are the symptoms when you start detoxing? Which they're so individual for everybody. Mm-hmm. But I noticed my even would change from even prep phase into body into brain. And it was what my thoughts were thinking. And I noticed that, like you said, once you're starting to detox, those emotions will start coming out. And that's when I started thinking a lot about when I was younger and some things that had happened to me. And it just was all just coming up. Things that I thought, I thought I dealt with that, but it's just such a lot of conversations, a lot of time on my knees, a lot of time in the Word, a lot of crying. Even my symptoms at that time showed up. I mean, I don't know if it's TMI, but like a lot of bowel movements, so to speak, it came out.
Yeah.
In other ways too. But
all the toxins come out, toxic thoughts, toxic emotions, toxins.
And it was wild to watch that, just the, from here are some symptoms in this part of my journey of this phase or this stage, right? And then it changed. And I think it was changing simply too because of what I was having to process through that. Through that. And I think through my healing, really, Pompa, it goes back to the Lord. Because there would be no progress towards healing if it wasn't for him, and it's his word, it's his truth that has given me that strength. It's his strength, right? It's not even me, right?
I say the same thing always. It's like I said, I can't not give him credit because I really believe in my heart of heart, it was him who showed me the way. It was him who put in my heart to teach this. It was him. It was it's not just words.
When you made a comment, you said you were in were you on the plane and you felt like, or somewhere, God just downloaded the R's to you?
That was on a plane.
Yes. And I related to that because I have felt, God has done things like in that word. I like the word downloaded. Just because
it started coming.
Where did that come from?
Pick up a tablet.
Yeah, and you just start writing, and I feel like that's happened to me, not on a plane, but like 3 a.m. in the morning, he'll wake me up, and I have to start journaling. And that's a lot too that was in my healing for that, is a lot of journaling. Like I brought mine today, just looking back at what he has revealed to me, revealed himself through me, and learning that he is my father and he is my protector.
Amen. Yeah. Yep.
And provider. So.
Well, you're brave to come on, but God, you wouldn't have it any other way. He brought you here because you're called to more. You are, because you matter. It's the truth, right? Absolutely the truth. Well, give them a word, right? Like, because people are out there, they're looking to step into a promise, the next level that has level up in their identity, or maybe they're sick looking for an answer.
Yeah.
Right? One word to them.
Oh, just one?
Okay, I mean a sentence, not one word.
I'll look into here if they're.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, let me just.
Yeah. Think about it. Yeah, it's like, what would you say to that person if I said to you, Angela, I feel like I lost hope. It's like I feel like I don't have confidence anymore. I don't see God in any of it. I can't imagine him being in this. It's horrible. What would you say to me?
That's good. Well, I'm going to break the rules because I might not just do it in a word or something.
No, I don't want it one word. I meant like a word.
Oh, I got you.
Like God gives us a word, not like one word, but a sentence.
It probably feels when you're in that moment that you feel like you're in pieces, right? The part of you that where have you gone? I used to be able to do this, and now I can barely do this, right? Fill in the blank. He's the God of pieces. I recently just heard a message about that, and it's so wonderful how he can take brokenness and show his majesty and his glory, and through you allow him. What was it? Ian and I were talking, it was on the David perceived he was king. There's on one side it's maybe easier to have faith in God compared to having faith that God will use you through this and that what he's doing through you, just trust him in that, right? In the storm. Can I tell you something?
Yes.
I know this is maybe trivial to some people, but I get so nervous on a plane. Well, I was thinking about the disciples. I was just reading where they had just watched Jesus break bread and feed 5,000. He is the God who provides. He is there. And then he has seen him do miracles. And now they're on he sends them away. They fed them. It's dark. They're outside on the boat. And there's a storm. And they get afraid. But I'm like, why would you be afraid? Jesus is right there. Here I am on a plane.
If he was going to let you die, he'll let you die back there, right?
But I have the same things. Like, mine is a plane. I get nervous coming here. I'm like, Lord, you must have brought me here. So I'm going to trust that you're going to land this plane safely because I'm supposed to have a conversation with Dr. Pompa.
Yeah.
So you're going to bring me safely, right? This turbulence is a little bit making me feel a little unwavering here, But
isn't that exactly what we always have to do? Meaning we have to anchor into a promise.
Yes.
In understanding what he's doing and anchor into that. And then we don't have the fears anymore.
Yeah.
Because the plane wreck is like, okay, well then that makes, it all a lie. And then if the plane wrecks, then so be it at that point. But no, I'm trusting that God is doing more.
It's a surrendering, isn't it?
It is.
And that's a scary thing because let's be real. I like some form of control. So, but like I said, take courage.
Yeah, fear is about control, but faith is about letting go.
Yeah.
And letting God, right?
Yes.
It's like, and trusting him. And by the way, that's what he wants always. He just wants us to trust him at the next level.
And here's speaking of next level, having Bo, I thought, oh man, just now being a mom, and I remember being just afraid of having, giving birth, and that's another story. But that was like, it's afterwards when you're like, oh my goodness, I'm responsible. I'm responsible. And
I said it. Who said this? If it was part of a comedy act or something, I don't know. Maybe they said, we had our baby and I couldn't believe they were letting us leave the hospital with this baby.
Right.
Meaning like we weren't, they should have never let us leave. We weren't equipped for this. Like that was a big, can you believe they're actually letting us leave with this?
And just knowing that God loves your baby just as much, or more. That was a huge revelation for me. Just, oh my gosh, I love this baby so much. How much more does God love us and protect us? And that was huge. That was a big one.
If we just trust him with it, right? Can I tell you my little lesson of faith?
Yes.
Maybe you heard Taylor's story, but here I am in Africa, right? I get invited into the back country of Africa, right? 8 hours into the bush, okay? And we're on a double road, single road, dirt road, no road. And then I meet this tribe, way back in the bush, and they were the first white person they ever saw, trust me. And it was just, I learned so much. I learned a lot about diet. I switched my paradigm because of this. One of the things that was said to me was, this tribe, they barely eat, but yet they have no diseases of the other tribes that were modernized, right? No disease. They didn't have words for the diseases. I mean, I was fascinated by them, right? To the point where I came back the next year and I brought them like all kinds of cool things because the kids were playing soccer with this rolled up thing. They didn't have a soccer ball. I bought them soccer balls, but it was so cool and fun. But anyways, so here we are coming out of the bush, right? Now, hold on. I missed one point. On the way in, when I said there was no road, it was massive rocks. We got a flat.
Oh, goodness.
And I said, well, hopefully we have 2 spares when you come out in the bush. I'm sure you have 2 spares. No, we had 1. So we have no spare now? Okay. Didn't like that. So, okay, on the way out, I'm up out of the Land Cruiser and I thought, wait a minute, this is the same rock garden that we got the flat in. I know, I remember, right?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, no sooner than I had the thought, I hear it. And I said, I think we have a flat. And you have to understand, I'm flying out the next day. So I'm thinking, all my brain was thinking is,
how am I going to get?
We're trapped. We're 8 hours in the bush. There was no other car. There's no car. There was no other trucks, nothing.
Yeah.
We were way out. And I'm thinking, we're done. Okay, so you have to understand, the gentleman who brought me out here, his name is Pastor Gatsi. In Zimbabwe, there was Mugabe, who was one of the most wicked dictators who killed all kinds of people. And then there's Gatsi, who was the opposite, right? But both were like equally famous for the good and for the bad, right? So Gatsi was known as a man of faith. When this guy walks in the room, you're in the presence of like someone like great and, you just listen type thing. So this man of faith, who I had so much respect for, I'm full of doubt. I'm thinking we're dead. What are we going to do? We could be here weeks. We have no way of getting out. This is all my thoughts. Okay. He steps out of the vehicle. You know what he says? I wonder what God has for us.
What's in store? What you up to, God?
Yeah. What was his first thought?
Wow.
So I literally wanted to go off into the woods. Hopefully a lion would just eat me or I'd just beat the crap out of myself. I felt so small. My faith felt so crippled. I mean, I just was like, I didn't care. I'm telling you, if a lion came, I'd just be like, eat me because I'm such a failure. Anyway, we go walk up like 200 yards and there's the
you meet somebody with a divine appointment. Come on.
Oh yeah, here it is. You ready? I'll get right to it. I'll get right to it. So there's these mud huts and I remember them coming in. And so we walk up to these huts. Hello. And Swahili, you probably said. And this woman comes out, her eyes big as saucers. And she says, Pastor Gatsi. And she had just came back from a week of travel, hitchhiking, this, that. She went to the conference that I spoke at, that he was at, just to see him.
Wow.
Her friend was a witch doctor. She wanted to bring her friend who canceled at the last minute. Okay. She was distraught about it, but on her knees praying that, God, you must have purpose in it. Okay. So the man that she was taking her friend to go see to get set free from witchcraft, okay, now is standing at her door.
Won't he do it? Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And so long story short, okay, she goes and gets her friend, okay, brings her back here.
Say it.
And he prays over her. She's set free. This all happened.
That's so amazing. And you got to experience that.
I watched the whole thing. There's one other funny part of that story because we're sitting around and, and she goes and gets it. And I mean, you could feel the demonic presence when this woman showed up, right? So I'm sitting here thinking, I can't wait to see what he does, right? I can't wait. Like I could see a confrontation coming. I mean, I was scared. I was like this. And this is what happened. He looks and he goes, Dr. Pompa, God's given you the word. And I'm like, yeah, see, I didn't hear that. I have nothing. So I mean, literally, I'm like, I've got nothing. It's like, didn't give me the word. I assure you, you have it. I don't have. And he's like, he's given you the word. And he hands me the Bible. And I just go like this. I just started reading and it was the word. And then he spoke about it.
Wow.
And she was transformed. God has purpose in it.
Yes, he does.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your pain to purpose journey. Thank you for being a coach. Now you're changing lives. You're serving at a level that is bigger than you and I.
Absolutely.
Serving this mission is bigger than any of us.
Yes. Thank you for having me on. I want to tell you something that, I can probably speak for most coaches too. We're very grateful for you. Thank you for leading us, and thank you for praying for us too. That's something that stands out to me, that you always pray for us. Your prayers.
I do. I prayed for you all this morning.
Well, was going to ask, if we could pray, if I could pray over you or pray for you, before we leave, before we head out.
Oh, thank you. I would love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I love when that happens.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And thank you for, again, sharing. You were so open.
Well, speaking of prayer real quick, because it reminds me, because last time we spoke on the Zoom, we talked about books, and I asked you, what books are you reading? And you said the prayer, the priestly prayer of the blessing.
Oh, yeah.
That's something that I have started now. Like, I just pray a blessing
I
over
prayed it this morning.
Yeah, over my family, over Bo. Yeah. So thank you for that. That was a good one.
Lord, bless and keep us.
Yes.
Shine your face upon us. Be gracious to us, Lord. Lift your countenance, your favor upon us, and give us shalom.
Yes.
Peace.
Yes.
And that prayer was the only prayer written by Yeshua himself. God, himself, I should say, Yahweh. But that's the priestly prayer.
Yeah. I do that now with Overbow, so I love it. That's something that I want to, as a just continual thing I want to do. So
yeah, awesome. Yeah. Well, you better like and share this, because you heard stories that are going to change lives, and that's why we do this. So share, please, like and share. Another episode of the Pompa podcast, another example of pain to purpose to promise. And there's a promise for you. Rakazakamatz. Remember, just about when you're ready to step into the next promise God has for you, we hear fears, we hear adversity, we think it's not you, it's God. Let him step in. Rakazakamatz.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.